Are you kind of curious what the average retirement income is for a single person? Maybe you're wondering if you're more or less than that. Well, tune in. I'm going to answer that question for you right now. All right, so you're single. You're wondering, okay, do I have enough in retirement? What's the average retirement income that somebody actually has if they're single at this point? I'm going to dig into that today. 2023 stats, they might be outdated by the time you watch this, but I'm going to give you that answer, but also give you an answer of how you can actually do better than the average. Because the average, I'll just tell you, it's not that impressive. So let's talk about that now. All right, so let's talk about the average retirement income. Now, if you're a couple, the couples, it makes it sound so much better, and most of the stats out there talk about what's the average retirement couple lives on. Right now, that's about $50,000 a year. Now, if you break it up of what it actually is, it's usually $29,000, almost $30,000 a year of Social Security, and then about $20,000 a year of retirement income, which is not a lot, as you well know. You're saving all this money for so long. So many people are saving at least $10,000, $20,000 a year to then live on $20,000 a year, $50,000 total is not great. Now, what if you're single? Now, the great thing is I've had a lot of clients that have been single as well, and it's kind of nice in some ways, depending on what your lifestyle is like. Now, I don't care if somebody has a big lifestyle or not. A lot of our clients, even the single ones, want more income so that they can live a free life, not just live and pay the bills, right? I don't think we're all meant to just live and die, just pay bills and then that's it. I think we're here to do more, especially when you're younger. The younger you can do it, the better. But I'll tell you, the average for the males, yes, there is a discrepancy between males and females, no shock there. For the males, the average is about $31,000 a year for a single male. Single females, $27,000 a year. And that's with everything. So not fantastic, as you could well tell. That's roughly, give or take, about $2,500 a month. Now, I'll tell you, I've had several people that are single that said, $2,500 a month is great. I had one woman who's 55-year-old health coach. Now, this is before 2020. This is 2019, so it probably would be more now with inflation. But she just told me, she said, Chris, honestly, if I just had $2,000 a month coming in every single month, that would be great. She's like, unfortunately, I only have $250,000. And based on retirement, on the retirement planner I spoke with, he was saying if I pull out 3% a year, that's only $7,500 a year. That's barely $600 a month. That's not even close to my $2,000. She's like, it seems like I'm gonna have to at least quadruple my money, get up that $250,000 to over $1 million to be able to live on enough to then have that $2,000 a month. And I said, yes, but there's hope. And there's another answer. I'm going to talk to you about that in just a second here about that alternative. But let's just talk about you and what do you need? What is it will be not just cover your bills. That's the first step. I think that's like just the bare necessities is what do we need to do to cover your bills? But could we do better? By the way, with that woman, I showed her actually how she could actually hit that $2,000 a month that year. Right? That year, not waiting 10 years, but that year. But it has to take a little bit different of a spin. So again, you have to know what your numbers are. What is it you need per month? Then I would say not just what you need per month, the next level is what do I want per month? Now, when I ask people this, sometimes I get the answer, as much as I can get. I get it, of course. But I want you to be more specific. Like, what does that really look like? Is it, if you're trying to hit at least $3,000 a month, but you're like, but to feel really free, I need double that. I need $6,000 a month. Great. Maybe you're saying, hey, $5,000 a month is my essential. I need $10,000 a month to feel free. Maybe you just want $10,000 a month and you only need $12,000 to be free. Maybe you only need a few thousand a month extra. Whatever that is, right? That's perfect because we can start from there. And then we have to go to is what do you have as actual reserves, right? I would just say this. If you want to find out what kind of income is possible from your current situation, on moneyripples.com, we have this free passive income calculator that you can actually put your numbers into. Make sure you fill it out completely because if you don't, the numbers won't come out right. But if you put in the numbers there and put it like what do you have in savings, what do you have in old 401ks, not current 401ks in the employer, old ones and IRAs and whatnot. What do you have in do you have equity in properties and whatnot? It asks you those kind of questions. Even if you have rent coming in already from rental properties, we want to know all that because then we can kind of see could we improve upon it more than what it's currently at. And it's fascinating because just like with this woman, see, she was trying to go the traditional path of saving in mutual funds. The problem with that, and I used to be a financial advisor, I get it. I was the guy that was the salesman in a suit trying to sell you on mutual funds and then tell you to live on 3% a year. Problem though is that it's so hard to do it. You have to save over 30 times what you need to live on per year. If your goal, like my dad, he's single as well. When I first sat down with him, it was 20 years ago. When I sat down with him, he said, hey, I'm 61 years old. I want to retire soon. This job is killing me. What can I do? Now, he only wanted about $50,000 a year to live on. But when I added up all of his stuff, even though he was 100% debt-free, including his mortgage, I added everything up and I said, well, Dad, you've only got about $250,000 or $300,000 because he just got beat up by Y2K. A few years later, then he gets beat up by the recession, the global financial crisis. This is before that even happened. And I said, well, you only got about 250,000 or so. At 50,000 a year, you're going to run out of money in about 5 years. Now, granted, at 62, he could start getting Social Security. That'll help. But that just slows it down a little bit. He'll still have to stretch out his dollars if he lives any longer. And I was looking for answers. That's why I started looking outside of what I was taught as a financial advisor, because there was no answers in that realm. Like, he supposedly had done everything right, and it just wasn't enough. Even though he was a strict penny pinching saver, he was a cheap son of a gun, right? But it still just wasn't enough. And when I started to look outside of it, I realized it wasn't about accumulating all that money, set it and forget it, try to store it up like squirrels saving for that winter of retirement. Instead, it was about, how do I produce income with this money? And it kind of became apparent to me because as I was starting to look for answers, I realized like I could actually lend my money to real estate investors. I could be the bank in a way. I could take the money that I have, just like a bank does when they give you a mortgage. And if you don't pay me, I take that house. I take that property. It's mine, right? I have the title in my name. And then I realized like, well, not only could I have the title in my name, could I have the property, but what if that person pays me 1% a month or 12% a year? So understand that if that's $100,000 I lend out to them, they're paying me $1,000 a month. And this gave me hope because remember, I was thinking like a financial advisor with that very narrow focus. But when I realized, wait a minute, if we can have, say, $300,000, that's $3,000 a month. $500,000, that's $5,000 a month. $1 million is $10,000 a month. That's tremendously huge. And that's where all of a sudden I started to feel hope. This is actually how I was able to retire twice by the time I was 39. Why did I do it twice? Because I screwed up the first time. That's a whole nother story. But I was able to dig back out of that hole and retire again when I was 39 years old in 2016. And so it always comes back to income. How do you generate income? And that's what the whole thing's talking about here, right? Well, now, granted, you're just wanting to know what's the average retirement income for a single person. You know, whether you're a man or a woman, doesn't matter. The real question is more, how can I do better than like $30,000 a year? That's just not a lot. Now, I know there'll be somebody who might comment on this video saying, well, I can live on $30,000 a year just fine. Great, I'm happy for you. I have had several clients that did that too. I had one client, she's a woman that she was divorced. She got a little bit of money from the divorce, a few $100,000, coupled with some of the savings she had. She was in business, but then she decided, you know what, I don't want to keep my business going. I want to retire to Bali. How many of you guys would just love to be able to retire to Bali? Wouldn't that be awesome, right? And so we started strategizing. We said, well, let's figure out what it takes. She said, I figured it out based on the places I would live, based on even if I scuba dive a few times a month, I'll need about $1,200 or so a month. I said, well, guess what? We got about $300,000 to work with. If we get, again, 1% a month, about 12% a year, and we had different real estate properties that we were able to do that with. Sometimes you can lend money as well and do different things. She was able to generate $3,000 a month. So what did she do? She retired to Bali. She sold her house, got the equity out of that. That added more, so she could have more than $3,000 a month to live on. And now she has more than enough income and then some. She's even able to save while freaking vacationing permanently, like a permanent vacation in Bali. I shouldn't say permanent because she always had to like go to Australia or whatever it was, like every 6 months because of the visa stuff, but then she'd fly right back. And for years, she's been living in Bali. You could do the same kind of thing too. What if you could actually have that kind of freedom? So again, you gotta know what you wanna be able to have per month. That's first. And then two, we gotta figure out, well, what do we have to work with? And how do we start getting to work harder for you? Had another woman, same thing, had about $600,000 to use and invest. Her goal was about $6,000 a month. It took a couple years because, I didn't try to get her, it just depends, right? Everything fluctuates. There could be more, you get paid more or less. You don't always get paid 12%, that's not a guarantee. But in this case, she got some that paid her at least 10%, even contractually. Well, a couple years later, she had enough to be able to retire herself. So there's lots of different ways to do it. There's so many ways you can do it that's way beyond what financial advisors offer you. So here's what I suggest for you. Yeah, you can try to see how little you can live on, and that's fine. You can live on a simple lifestyle, but how would it be if you could have more than enough income to not just pay your bills, but then be able to pay for the life of your dreams? Maybe you can actually go see, if you got kids or whatever it might be, and you want to go visit them. You now don't have to rely on them to fly you out. You can fly yourself out. You can be independent. You can be the person that has all that power in your own control. I recommend go to moneyripples.com, try that passive income calculator right now just to see what's possible in your situation, because it might be the thing that very much can change the trajectory of your life and your future. Try that today.